Brandon's now at Idlewild. How's that working out for him?
Yeah, it's a cool new environment for Brandon, and I think he's handling it. But definitely at first he's caught off guard by a few different things. He gets in as a composer as opposed to a pianist. He's paired up with this girl named Kat, who is quite a personality, and she's an amazing pianist. So it's kind of a good situation for him, but she's also causing him to really work hard to sort of please her, and the team sort of energy isn't necessarily where it should be. They're not exactly compatible at first. So it'll be interesting to see if he can make that work. Or what will happen with that. But the whole Idlewild sort of realm is very cutthroat, very prestigious, and all the kids are super talented. And so Brandon's honestly feeling a little. He's not feeling great. His confidence is a little hurt by just being surrounded by such talent, and everyone's trying to be the best. And so he's going to have to step it up a little bit in this season, regain his confidence. And sort of state his case a little more, which has been cool. It's been cool to see him have to step up. Yeah.
Do you think we'll see him better able to handle Kat's manipulations going into the future?
Yes, I think that's one of the things that he definitely starts to learn how to handle, and also sticking up for himself a little more is this is kind of a life lesson that he's sort of learning through this whole Idlewild thing. So it's a very cool life thing for Brandon. A little, he's getting a little older, learning a thing or two.
An upcoming episode description says that Brandon and Callie are going to Mexico. Can you tease anything about that?
Yes, so there is definitely a fun episode coming up in a couple weeks now, where someone gets the idea. I'm not going to say who because I'll keep it fun. But Brandon or Callie, one of them gets the idea to go down to Mexico in this little spontaneous road trip. So they do. They go down, and it's this whole episode of what happens in Mexico, essentially. But it's very fun, and also, I think for the fans, particularly the Bradley fans, they will be pleased, I hope. Anyway, it's a fun, quirky episode. I think it's going to be really funny, too, which is kind of a cool element to add, and we get to see Brandon and Callie sort of reconnect for the first time in at least a little while, and have some, real talks here and there. And just be around each other. They've kind of been off doing their own thing for some time now, so it's refreshing to see them kind of back in the same car, same place again.
Do you think spending time with Callie is a good break from the competitiveness of Idlewild?
Yeah, and I mean, ultimately they do still have a connection. So, Brandon finds himself kind of confiding in her a little bit, and there is still that element of they can tell each other stuff, and so the Mexico episode is an example of them sort of catching up and uploading new information to each other. So yeah, you get to see a little bit of the original sort of Brandon and Callie where they were communicating a lot to each other and really connected. There's remnants of that now.
How does Brandon feel about Mike taking in a foster child?
Yeah, so that's probably the other big thing next to Idlewild is AJ with Mike. Brandon is off-put, I would say, and it's an interesting element because you actually get to see his perspective with maybe how he felt the whole time, which is he feels like he's pushed to the side and no one really runs things by him, in terms of bringing new kids into the house, or how do you feel about this? We might adopt this kid, or we might help this kid out. So Brandon never is in that discussion, and so for the first time he brings that up and he brings that to light. And AJ is sort of the last straw kind of thing, and then Mike. I think the fact that AJ is sort of paired up with Mike also hits a nerve. So he gets territorial and defensive and has to sort of figure out to make sense of it, and make sure that AJ is not a negative thing coming in. He's very protective.
And why should people be tuning into the Fosters every week?
I think it's continuing to be interesting. Every character is evolving. Every character is growing. We still continue to be this life show, this life family show. So you see the kids growing up. They're in high school. They're learning lessons. They're making mistakes, and it's all continuing to happen 3 seasons in. So I think if you enjoyed the first 2 seasons of that sort of thing, you will enjoy this season. For sure.